There's another component of max funded IUL that goes beyond using it for living benefits, and that's the death benefit. And it doesn't come into play very often, but when it does, it makes all the difference in the world. In this episode, I'm going to share a story of how a rider that I was inspired to add to an IUL doubled the resources that a widow had and was able to use for 20 years after her husband's accidental death. Get ready. So, as a financial strategist and retirement planning specialist now for north of 5 decades, I've helped thousands of clients optimize their assets and minimize taxes using max-funded IUL. Again, I've been helping people optimize assets and minimize taxes for north of 5 decades. And if you've watched very many episodes on this channel, my favorite financial vehicle, without question, to accumulate money safely and maintain liquidity at great rates of return tax-free is a properly structured max-funded IUL, or Index Universal Life. And so when I help people do that, they come to me not normally wanting or needing life insurance death benefit. Their primary reason is they want to optimize their assets that are underperforming or non-performing. And when I say that, it means that they have their money invested in places that's not as liquid or as safe or earning as good of rate of return as a properly structured max-funded IUL does. And it's usually not totally tax-free. And so that's called laser, liquid assets safely earning returns. So what they want to do is raise the score on their investments, and I call it the laser rating system. So thousands of people have come to us for that very purpose. They want to accumulate their money tax-free at nice rates of return, not pie in the sky, but average returns of 6 to 10% tax-free. A tax-free return of 10 would be like earning 15% in a tax-deferred IRA or 401k, and then pulling out your money and paying tax of a third and to net 10. You can earn 11 and net 10 instead of having to earn 15 in an IRA or 401k to net 10 after tax, okay? And so when I structure max-funded IUL, there are 2 tax citations called TEFRA and DEFRA that dictate the minimum amount of insurance required based upon the insured's age, gender, and health to accommodate the amount of money that the person wants to reposition. So when a person would come, they would tell me how much money they wanted to sock away or lump sum they wanted to reposition to increase liquidity, safety, rate of return, and tax benefits. It could be monthly amounts of $500 a month, $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month. It could be lump sums of $10,000, $50,000, $100,000, $1 million. And so I'm usually taking the formula and I'm taking the least amount of insurance the IRS will let us get away with to put in that amount of money, reposition that money into IUL so it will grow and it actually self-insures the individual, where the cash value in the IUL ends up growing to equal and exceed the death benefit if they live, 10, 15, 20 years or so. Now, there is a death benefit. And a lot of times people are thinking, well, I don't really need life insurance, or okay, I understand it has to be there in order for it to be tax-free, but it's a secondary objective because we all feel like we're sort of immortal, right? Well, I'm sharing stories on this channel of when the death benefit really came into play or when unfortunately it didn't. This story is how a rider on an IUL doubled the resources that a widow had. I'll never forget when I was sitting down with this client, a very close client, and he is sharing with me how much he can sock away into an IUL for his future retirement to be able to perform probably twice as much as putting the same amount of money in a 401k, okay? And so I'm structuring this IUL, and I end up with the death benefit. And this is the minimum death benefit to accommodate the amount of money that he wanted to set aside. And he wasn't super mega wealthy, but he wanted to be serious about his future and take care of his family into his golden years. And so I'll never forget when I arrived at the minimum death benefit. It was a sizable death benefit, but all of a sudden I put on my insurance hat for a moment, and I thought, wait a minute, what if he passed away sooner than later? I knew he was active. Okay, I knew he went out and recreated and did river runs and motorcycle rides and so forth. I thought, well, what if something happened to him? Would I feel good about delivering this death benefit, tax-free, to his widow and his family? And I thought, no, this would not be sufficient. This would not be enough if he happened to die. Now, we never plan on that. And in that moment, I just simply told him, listen, I'm thinking about the death benefit. And even though we're looking at the minimum, I would like to add a rider of an extra life insurance, a term rider that will double the death benefit in the event you might pass away. And there's another advantage is later on when you have more money or resources or more income, we can convert that to IUL, and now you'll be able to invest twice as much money as we're planning on right now. And without hesitation, he looked at me and said, whatever you say, Doug. He totally trusted me. Now, I never gave that another thought, but I added the rider to double the amount of death benefit, never dreaming that it would turn into a death benefit. And a couple of years later, I got a phone call notifying me that he had been killed in a one-car rollover. And I went back to that instant in that interview when we're filling out the insurance application, when I got just this little moment of inspiration. What if he passed away? Would this be sufficient? And I said, I recommend we double the death benefit, never thinking that would actually come to fruition. And so that rider doubled the resources that this sweet widow had to be able to continue to provide not only for herself, but for her 4 children with the various goals and school and funding and, the music lessons and what have you that he would have provided had he stayed around. And so that's the merits of having the death benefit coming along. Most of our clients, they live long, and they don't need the death benefit until they pass away in their 80s and 90s. But this particular gentleman passed away at about age 50. And that widow will be forever grateful that she had enough money because of tax-free life insurance proceeds that allowed her for 20 years to have an income that maintain the same lifestyle that she was accustomed to and provide for her family. So don't ever underestimate the value of the death benefit in max funded IUL. Whenever you pass away under Section 101A of the Internal Revenue Code, the money in the policy blossomed. The cash value, which is what most people create it for tax-free accumulation, that's the cash value, actually will transfer income tax-free, but it blossoms. It increases. And in this case, it increased by a substantial amount when he passed away in that accident. And so I will never regret listening when wisdom called. I often teach youth that when wisdom calls, you don't give it a busy signal. Now, a lot of youth don't understand that today. So I say, well, when wisdom calls, don't let it go to voicemail. And they understand what I'm talking about. I'm so glad I didn't let that happen when I got that feeling that I ought to double the death benefit. So if you want to learn more about the merits of max funded indexed universal life, how it's used for living tax-free accumulation and tax-free income living benefits, but also the merits of a death benefit, how if you happen to die, it blossoms and transfers tax-free under Section 101A of the Internal Revenue Code, study my book, The Laser Fund. It's actually 2 books in one. This side is the left brain side. This is 14 chapters, about 200 pages. with all the charts and graphs and explanations if you are a left brain learner. If you're a right brain learner and you learn more by stories, you flip it over to this one. This is about 100 pages, 12 chapters with 62 actual client stories. And I have one full chapter in here on the merits of IUL with death benefit. How to have the life insurance being paid for with otherwise payable tax. You're redirecting otherwise payable tax. And if you don't understand that, you need to study my book. Now, this retails on Amazon for anywhere from $20 up to $60. If you buy it there, thank you. But I'll gift you a copy for free. You simply go to laserfund.com or go to the link below, and you contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling. I require a little skin in the game. And I'll cover the rest of that, and I'll pay for the book. I'll fire out a hard copy to you via priority mail. And when you're in there claiming your free copy, if you like to listen and learn or watch and learn, there's those formats available for your investment. You can also schedule to attend a free educational webinar that we do on a weekly basis. And you can even schedule an appointment to talk to an IUL professional that will, without cost or obligation, show you illustrations of how a properly structured max funded IUL works in your particular set of circumstances.